This year was supposed to be a big year for Ubisoft. They had several games coming out, including Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and early next year they're going to have Watch Dogs Legion come out. And it was supposed to be a good time for many fans. A lot of people were looking forward to Valhalla, especially Assassin's Creed fans, because you did have a lot of people that were well respected by the Assassin's Creed community working on this game. You have Darby McDevitt, who wrote Assassin's Creed Black Flag and Assassin's Creed Revelations, two of the better stories in the series for sure. You had Ashraf Ismail, who I'll get to in a little bit, who had worked on Black Flag and Origins, coming back to work on this game. You had Jesper Kyd, who did the music for the Ezio trilogy and a lot of the early Assassin's Creed games, coming back, as well as many other great people on the games that we have really liked previously. What we had seen from trailers we really liked, even if it wasn't technically gameplay when they said it was going to be a gameplay trailer. There was a lot of good things to look forward to for this game and for many other games as well coming from Ubisoft. It was going to be something fun to look forward to in this year of 2020 that has not been very good so far, but 2020 will just keep on being 2020, and it turns out that a lot of the people that we've looked up to in Ubisoft especially, but also other gaming companies as well, but particularly Ubisoft because that's who we're covering today, and I think that's where most of the problems have come out from. They've turned out to be total and complete monsters. They've been leading on women whilst being married and having families, just numerous things. If you want to see the details, I will link them down below. I know some people don't want to read the things on screen because it can have an effect on them, so I'll just link those down below if you want to see what exactly was going on, what some of these tweets are, what some of these women are saying about what happened to them while working there. But it has affected a lot of female employees and even fans that go to events. You know, Loomer, his girlfriend, was kind of hit on by Ashraf Ismail after an Assassin's Creed Black Flag event. Just really inappropriate things that should not be going on, really terrible things that just should not be tolerated either at Ubisoft, by the fans, or at any studio or place of work regardless. Just really horrible things, and this should be a wake-up call to a lot of people about some of the things that do go on. You can't just say you stand up to sexual harassment and stuff as a company and then let it be rampant within the company. Stuff like that is wrong, and Ubisoft needs to take real action on some of these things. Now, some of these guys have stepped down, but there's people that need to be gotten rid of. There's people that need to go. I don't care how talented they are. If you're doing things that are wrong, that should not be tolerated. So that's my 2 cents on everything. Like I said, I'm going to link these things down below for you to form your own opinions on them and to see what exactly is going on. But I know not everyone is on Twitter seeing all these things, so I wanted to give you guys a heads up about it. And let's I'm going to skip my regular intro. I'm just going to jump into the video. So today I want to talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla and two things that I want to see come from the game, two events that I want to see happen within the game that I think would actually be very important, not only for the game, but for the series, and also would make a ton of sense historically, which would be perfect for an Assassin's Creed game. So the first one I want to talk about is the Battle of Hafrsfjord. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but hear me out. So this battle was supposed to have been the battle that unified Norway under King Harald Fairhair. Now this is very interesting because the kind of time period that it happened is debated upon. It could have happened in 872 or all the way up to 900. People are debating one of those dates or even somewhere in between. Some people even think it happened in the 880 sometime. But in my opinion, for this game specifically, I think it would make a ton of sense if they set it in the year 872, not only because this is when the game begins, but you have to think about what the game is about versus what historically happened. So essentially what happened was Harald Fairhair ruled the southeast portion of Norway. This battle was to take the southwestern portion of Norway and take over those chieftains and those lands so that he could control and tax those areas for his own legitimate kingdom. And many historians do regard Harald Fairhair as the first legitimate king of Norway. So he did actually win and subdue most of Norway and bring it under his kingship. This is kind of the official unification of Norway. Many people say it happened over a period of years. It wasn't just this battle just unified everyone. It did happen over a period of years, but this was kind of the turning point that really kind of nailed it in the coffin. So the important thing to look at is a lot of the chieftains that were not big fans of Harald Fairhair's rule. they ended up leaving and going to places like Iceland. And I think this is important because you look at the story that we're supposed to have of Eivor going to England and trying to settle. He's escaping Norway, trying to get away from that. I think that it's very possible that this first introduction of the game is at this Battle of Hafrsfjord. I think Eivor is on the losing team, and I think it's a good reason for him to have met up with the Hidden Ones. The Hidden Ones, obviously, they want people to be free. They don't want to see more control, and it would make sense for the Order of the Ancients to be on Harold Fairhair's side because he wants to unify the whole kingdom and put it under his control. It makes a lot of sense for an Assassin's Creed game. It makes a lot of sense with history. I think that could be the perfect place to start the game. It would give Eivor a good reason to leave and want to settle elsewhere. So hopefully that is what we see. Like I said, I think it makes a ton of sense. I think it's very possible that we do see it, and of course, the history goes with it as well. So the second thing I want to talk about is the interactions between the Arab world and the Norse world. Now, we do know factually that these two different civilizations did interact with each other. There are pieces of jewelry from the Arab world in places like Norway and Sweden, and there are pieces of Norse jewelry in the Arab world and the Middle East. It's well documented that they interacted with each other. Writers like Ahmad ibn Fadlan, I think I'm pronouncing that right, were one of the Arab documenters and travelers that documented a lot of his interactions with the Norse. Some of his descriptions are quite funny when describing the Vikings, but it's very fascinating to see how these two vastly different civilizations came together and interacted in different ways. Obviously, not every interaction was peaceful, but not every interaction was violent. And I think that the way the Norse travel and interact with the world that they're in and things like that, especially within the Assassin's Creed universe, I think is very important to the spreading of ideals of not only the assassins or the hidden ones, but also the spreading of the ideals of the Order of the Ancients. So I think that that could possibly have an influence on how the game begins, but I do want to see the game end with something having to do with going to Masyaf, possibly somewhere in the Middle East, to establish the actual assassins as assassins. Now, obviously the assassins wouldn't take on the name assassins for about another 200 to 300 years after this game is set, so it's not likely that we see the official beginning of the assassins unless we see a little bit of a time jump towards the end. Maybe they show one of Eivor's descendants a couple hundred years later in Masyaf, something along those lines. You never know, but it would definitely be something interesting to see, to be able to see those kinds of interactions, see how these two vastly different worlds interacted with each other. And I think it's especially important for Assassin's Creed just to show the transfer of not only knowledge but technology and just different things like that. See how different philosophies work with and against each other. It's one of those fascinating things about the world and history and Assassin's Creed that I do enjoy very, very much. So anyway, that's it for the video today. I know the first half of it was kind of depressing and not very fun to talk about, but it's a reality of the industry, unfortunately, and of the world in general. So I hate that it is something that I feel the need to talk about in a video, but it is reality. And, you know, we can work to change that, and I hope that it does change soon, and people should not be living in fear of things like that. They should not be having to deal with things like that. It's not right to use positions of power to have influence over others like that. I think especially people who work on a series like Assassin's Creed should really understand those kinds of concepts and philosophies, but clearly they're not paying attention to the work that they're working on. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to follow me on Twitter and Instagram to get updates on videos and news like this. So I will see you guys in the next video.